The Buckeyes opened the season in style, torching IU Indy 118-102 in an offensive showcase.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans. After Ohio State's 118-102 win over IU Indy in their season opener, I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And during this hardwood huddle, we will discuss what's next for Diebler's boys after their record-setting performance in their season opener. But first, there was a lot of excitement and anticipation leading into another Buckeye basketball season because Jake Diebler has put together a solid team. There are some key guys that are going to be young Bucks that you're going to get to know very, very well early in the year, as well as some guys that are new faces but provide a veteran presence that you get to know as well. John Mobley Jr., Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal, those guys are still in the starting lineup, and they're going to be key for Ohio State this season. And they were also key for Ohio State tonight because they scored the most points ever in program history in a season opener. The previous record was 111. Today, they scored 118. The record all-time for most points ever scored in a game is 121. They scored the second most points ever in a game in program history in the season opener, which is huge. And it was fun seeing all the guys get involved and the ball be spread around and guys be very, very efficient. Kristoff Tilly was the high man in points with 28 points. He finished with 28 points, 9 rebounds on 9 of 11 shooting. John Mobley Jr. added in 16. Bruce Thornton had 26, and Devin Royal added in 22. These guys were passing the ball freely. They were being very unselfish. They were playing the kind of basketball that Jake Diebler has been preaching that they'll be playing. It also helps when you get in foul trouble. Well, the other team gets in foul trouble early, and you end up shooting 53 free throws. You make 42 of those to shoot 79% from the charity stripe. That also helps, and that adds to why Ohio State scored 118 points. And that's a great badge of honor. If you can open up the season and even shooting 79% from the free throw line and making 42 of your 53 free throws, that's huge. Add in the efficiency, just overall shooting. They shot 63% from the field, 36% from downtown. That's not a bad way to start the season, especially with a team that is trying to figure out where all these new faces in new places are going to go, and they're trying to mesh and gel. And this is your first opportunity of real live game action. Yes, they've had scrimmages. There's a scrimmage recently this past weekend against Ohio. They had a scrimmage also, I believe, against Tennessee. That was one of those closed door scrimmages. Jake Diebler did a video actually after that scrimmage and let you know that they had a scrimmage, but it was not on TV, and it was not for, I believe there were no media involved allowed to watch that either. So there was not really that true game action before this. And I think you're able to check a lot of boxes. You won numerous hustle stats. You shot very, very well from the charity stripe and from the field. You can't complain with that. The Buckeyes had a 19 assists. They didn't really get in foul trouble occasionally. 17 fouls, but wasn't really bad. Nobody really got in individual foul trouble except for Kristoff Tilly, who had 4 fouls. I thought Mobley was the guy that said on the broadcast that had 4 fouls, but it was Tilly who had 4 fouls. IU Indy had 3 guys that ended up fouling out. They had a couple of guys that shot decent, a couple that scored over 20 points. But overall, this is a pretty good season opener, except for the defense. I try my best to be very, very positive and realize basketball is different than football, but you can't give up 102 points. I don't care if it's the first game, your 18th game, or your last game of the year. You can't give up 102 points. And if I'm Jake Diebler, you have to go back into the film room the next time you guys watch film tomorrow and try to dial down and say, what happened? Why is this happening here? Now, granted, for some context for this game, IU Indy did press the entire game. They were being a little bit aggressive, and Ohio State found ways to break the press and found ways to get easy baskets in the paint. I was really impressed with Kristoff Tilly and Knowles' ability to score in the paint with different angles and with both hands. That was very impressive to see, and also some of the ball handling and really the passing. Some of the passing inside the lane was not the lazy pass. It was more deliberate and direct and distinct. And I really enjoyed seeing that the guys are working very, very hard in the offseason and they're able to translate that to the basketball court. So hats off to these guys. Hats off to Ohio State's basketball team setting this record. The defense is a problem. I don't care if you're pressing a lot or anything like that. Giving up 102 points isn't acceptable. It is not. The good thing for Diebler is this is a long season. No one's going to harp on a 102 point um, that you giving up 102 points in the opener if it doesn't continue. The Buckeyes have another game coming up. We're going to dive into that in the very next segment. But all in all, great offensive performance. Defense, you can get better. There was some energy and activity defensively after IU Indy cut the lead to one in the first half, excuse me. They cut it to one, 33 to 32 with 8:42 left in the first half. And then after that moment, it seemed like Ohio State started to get some activity and they started to move their hands and feet, and it showed up in getting some easy baskets in transition that kind of ballooned that lead a little bit. So hats off to Ohio State. Diebler put a great squad together. They did a great job in their opener, putting on a show for the home fans. And if you're able to go to that game, hats off to you. I hope you're able to go to as many games as you can and support this team because they're going to need all the support they can get. Who are some players that shined in this game, as well as what's next for Diebler's boys early in the season? We will discuss that after the break. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. College football is in the middle of another exhilarating season, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, they're just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. This episode is also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you could even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Once again, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes. After Ohio State's record-setting performance in their season opener, it was a 118 to 102 win over IU Indy in the season opener. And this basketball team is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I know it's early. I know that it was not really a massive test, but they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. And just you wait and see what is to come with this team. I know that IU Indy is not going to be what Michigan is going to be down the road, or North Carolina, or Pitt. They're not going to be that type of test, but they are a team that is put together very, very well. They're not at a P4 level, but they have a lot of good players that play in the system that forced Ohio State to really weather a storm early in the first half, and they did that very, very well. This team, a couple of guys that I think really stood out. I didn't really detail them very, very much. Kristoff Tilly, my goodness, man. I really liked him in the exhibition against Ohio. Was it about a week and a half ago? And then You get this performance in his first game ever as a Buckeye. 28-9 on 9 of 11 shooting. He went 1 for 2 from downtown, 9 of 13 from the free throw line. I think in this season, that 1 for 2, there will be games where he'll be 4 for 6 or maybe 5 for 8 because they'll need him to stretch the court, and they'll need his down his 3-point shot. I don't know why I was trying to say down with 3. I know downtown was in my head, but that wasn't what I was looking for. But I was really impressed with him and just his ability to be acclimated early to his new teammates. Bruce Thornton, what else can you say? 26 points on 7 of 10 shooting, 2 of 4 from downtown. He hit 10 of his 12 free throws, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He's an all Big Ten preseason guy, probably going to be a first-team all Big Ten guy at the end of the season. Potentially All-American. He's going to get drafted. I mean, what else can you ask or say about this young man? But a lot of it was his vision and his ability to just control the court and keep everybody level-headed. Because when Ohio State got some adversity early in the first half, no one really seemed flustered. No one act like they didn't know how to overcome what was happening. He did all that in 35 minutes. So it wasn't like he did that in 40 or in 30. He almost played the entire game, which I think you're going to find that you're probably going to need Bruce Thornton to play 32 to 36 minutes. Maybe you may say, Jay, it's a little bit high. Well, he's between the ages of 18 and 22, probably closer to 22 with him being a senior. He has fresh legs. He's a young buck. He is going to be just fine. Then Devin Royal playing more of the small forward spot than the power forward. I think that transition is going to be great for him, especially as he transitions into being a guy that is going to be a pro in the future. I do believe he'll be in the NBA. 22 points on 5 of 9 shooting, 2 of 5 from downtown, 8 rebounds. There were numerous guys early in the game that were getting some shots off from deep. I know John Mobley Jr. hit a 3 in the first little bit of the game before the first media timeout. Devin Royal hit 1. He was taking guys off the dribble and making the right passes, and I was really impressed with his ability to transition and be comfortable in his new role, being on the wing more in a small forward role than a power forward role. What is next for the Buckeyes? The Buckeyes' next game is this coming Friday. Once again, it's in the shot against Purdue Fort Wayne. That is at 6:30. This one's on the Big Ten Network. No more BTN Plus, at least for this game. That game is going to be on the Big Ten Network. The next BTN Plus game is the Buckeyes' 3rd game of the year. That is next Tuesday, a little over a week from now. Another 6:30 p.m. tip. That is a game against Appalachian State. A few more games before we close up shop. The Buckeyes played Notre Dame. Also in the shop. That's on November 16th. That's a Sunday. That is the Sunday after the UCLA game. For all you football fans out there, that is a game that is a night game on NBC. So a lot of us have been wanting more night football games. We're getting them this year, and I'm glad that this one is a night game against UCLA. It may be a late night, and many of you may not want to watch Buckeye basketball at 12:30, but I think it's going to be a fun battle. And then a couple more games, week before Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 20th, 8 p.m. tip on Big Ten Network. The Buckeyes play Western Michigan. That is also at the shot. Oh, one quick thing. The game against Notre Dame is on FS1. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show a part of your day. For your next listen or watch, tap into Locked on Big Ten, because Craig Sheeman is a guy that goes over in details the most exciting conference in sports and college sports, getting you up to date with the rivalries, with the championship race, and everything in between. You can find Locked on Buckeyes and Locked on Big Ten right there on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform or jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked on Buckeyes after Ohio State's 118-102 win over IU Indy in the season opener.